guys, that's your Ray Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video. Today we're going to talk all about speed. But first, send us some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you're going through something and you need it out there today. Today, like I said, I got the need for speed, baby. I want to talk about the fastest champions, the best turn meter boosters in the game. I mean, turn meter boosting is one of the most powerful things you can do in this game. Obviously, we'll cover a lot of increased speed champions along the way. We'll cover a lot of champions in all rarities. So everybody watching this will at least have one or two, or hopefully more, of the champions that we mentioned. So from mythicals all the way down to rares, I'm going to give you the best turn meter boosters, and there's a variety of different ways we can get our boosts in this game. Some of them off passives, some of them off of Nukers actually, and some of them in the traditional ways, just increase turn meter on your team. Some of those manipulating the enemy's turn meter while also boosting your turn meter. So it's all about the boost today. There's one relic we should start with, by the way. You guys, odds are you all probably know it, but the Journal of Nukers, very good. I'm blocking it. Can I make it bigger? No, I can just move out of the way though. All right. Making me work at the beginning of the video. Turn meter increase boosted by 15%, right? We can get that all the way up to 3, 6, 9, 15, 30%. We can get another 30% from turn meter boost. That's a really powerful. I really, really love the Journal of Nukers. Any of you guys use that? Any of you guys have those? Very good. While we're here, let's do some faction wars crafting. Let's see what we get here. Rod of Blasphemy. Okay, womp womp. All right, so first, kind of as an appetizer here, let's talk about the 115 club. 115 is the fastest champion speed at this time in Raid Shadow Legends. I almost guarantee that when they introduce Void Mythicals, which they will at some point, I think they have actually acknowledged that. They just said no time, anytime, or not anytime soon, excuse me. But when they do, I bet we're going to see a 116 or 120 base speed champion. Base speed, I used to think that it didn't mean that much. Who really cares about a few extra speed or whatever? But it means a lot as you progress to the end game in Raid, because min-maxing becomes everything in this game. You want every single one speed that you can possibly get. And now that Faction Wars Hard Mode introduced new rarity glyphs like legendaries, man, speed is about to take another escalatory step in the game. You can make what? I wonder what the highest possible speed you can make a champion in the game nowadays is. Probably like 700 with the new glyphs and the relics, right? I don't know, but it's insane. It's not my Raid Shadow Legends of 2019 when I started playing this game. But anyway, the 115 club are the fastest base speeds in the game, right? Now, a lot of mythicals have 115 speed, even like non-turn meter boosters like Gizmac, or some of the best mythicals in the game like Star Sage, for example, right? 115 base speed is fairly common amongst mythicals. Certainly they don't all have that, but there are 5 legendaries, only 5 legendaries with 115 base speed. Now, there's other really good, champions who have 113 or 114, like Fina, for example, right? She's at 113 base speed. Or Siphi the Lost Bride at 150 or 114 base speed, right? So they're very fast, but there's only 5 still that have 115. So who are they? Mother Cybele, that's right, she has 115 base speed. She does have a speed in all battles aura as well, but she's not like a turn meter booster. She's a support champion, so very strange. I've always thought it was strange that the red lady here has the 115, but she's one of them. Of course, there is Shadowkin Lady Kimmy, right? Lady Kimmy, 115 base speed. She got speed in Doom Tower battles. I don't like that one too much on the aura. I really wish they would change that to arena or all battles by 23%. That would be really solid. But she also has some turn meter boosting in there as well, which is nice, and turn meter manipulation for your enemy team. And then we have Lammasu. So eventually, everybody's going to be able to get their hands on Lammasu, and she has 115 base speed and one of the best speed boost abilities in the game. Fill one target's turn meter by 50% and resets the cooldown of all of their skills. That is a super strong move. Everywhere in the game, specifically in the arena in the game as well, you can speed up your nuker tremendously. It's only one ally. You also get 2 intercept stacks, by the way, but it's a very, very powerful move there, right? We also have, so we have Lady Kimmy, we have Mother Cybele, Lammasu, And then we have a real bad one here, Blind Seer. I think she really needs a buff, but she does have the 115 base speed defense on the aura. And then the last champion's really just one of the best out there. I can't believe she was a fusion. They made her this good. It's Estra Dream Song. Yeah, Estra has 115. That's it. Those are the only 5 non-mythicals. Those are the fastest champions base speed in the game. Very good speed in arena battle. She's a very good arena turn meter booster too. Very underrated. She has a 15% turn meter fill, but she also brings increased speed and the extra turn where she can go and decrease speed and decrease turn meter of all enemies by 15%. Just make sure you're running her in, fast. Ideally, some pinpoint in there as well because she can be sheeped. But either way, Estrid is just the woman.
It's a man, baby.
Anywhere, arena, outside the arena, you name it. She's one of the. I can't believe they made her with 115 base speed. She does so much. One of my favorite champions, honestly, in the game. One of the more powerful champions inside the game. All right, now let's start talking about the best boosters of each kind of category, right? There's going to be so many fun champions. I guarantee you guys have not thought of all of these champions I'm about to mention in today's video because some of them are off the wall. One of them that is off the wall, by the way, is really one of the more underrated turn meter boosters in the game. These are going to fall in like the random category, right? These first few champions that we talk about. We already talked about Lamasu with that 50% turn meter boost single target. Caroline the Ringer, it's really a busted ability here. And I see endgame players sometimes, he's not super meta, but I see endgame players abusing this polar vortex. He basically has filling the turn meter of all allies by 10% for each freeze debuff that is blocked or resisted by the enemy team, okay? So when using it against bosses that can't be frozen, it's a 40% or 50% in Hydra. It's a 40%, my bad. In Hydra, turn meter boost. 40% is unheard of, right? The best in the game is 30%. So anything over 30% on turn meter boost in terms of an AoE entire team, that's really freaking good right there, right? So against Stone Skin, you can get a 40% turn meter boost off Caroline the Ringer, and he is fairly fast at 109 base speed as well. And the other kind of honorable, weird mention, not even honorable, like she's one of the best in the game. By the way, I will give you at the end of this video, guys, my top 5 turn meter boosting goats, the greatest of all time as of today in Raid Shadow Legends, in my opinion. The top 5. Overall, Shuzen has an instant turn ability, right? She has a 110 base speed, still very fast. And then the instant turn, I mean, that's 100%. That's a boost turn meter to max in the words of Cardinals, a revive, right? This is probably the most powerful, it is the most powerful single target turn meter boost in the game. It has the potential of being that, obviously, on Purging Petals. Shuzen, yeah, she's going to be good. We're going to talk about her later as well. What about the old schools, though? Who are the best 30% turn meter boosters in the game? Well, let's kick it old school, and let's start with good old Arby. Good old Arbiter, man. She's still the best. She's still not the best. She's still very freaking good, right? I use Arbiter I don't use her anymore, but I used her for a while in Hydra Clan Boss. I could probably bring her back with Fina, one of the unities that I actually do have, one of the best, so it's cool. But 30% aura, and then the increased attack, and the 30% turn meter boost. That's so good. Now, this is for new players out there, but generally when you're making a speed tune team, especially for the arena, what you really don't want to have happen is the enemy to cut in line, right? So we want to build the next person on the next champion on the team who's going to go after an Arbiter within 30% of her speed. That way, there's no interruptions, right? And ideally, if maybe they're turn meter boosting too, but we want to control the enemy at that point, right? So that even if they get a turn, maybe they're locked out or something like that. Or do we want to keep boosting to keep control of the match? So this is why this is so important, especially in the arena. But of course, going to talk about a bunch of PvE specialists along the way as well. When we talk about cutting in line, by the way, she used to be very famous for it. Nowadays, you don't see that much of her in the arena, but this jealousy passive you ought to know about. This champion turn meter will be increased by 10% each time an enemy places a buff. Enemy champions will have their turn meters decreased by 10% for each buff they receive, right? It's kind of like an old school temporal chainsy type ability, right? Built into Valkyrie's kit. So she can be a nuisance. She was back in the day, right? All right, so we talked about Arbiter, right? We probably should have started with the with the actual mythicals, but we'll cover mythicals next.
So you've got no game plan.
Let's talk about some PvE here in Nekmothar, right? Nekmothar, we're talking about legendary turn meter boosters. He's about as good as they get. You know, he's slow, so you don't see a lot of him in the arena. 104 base speed matters a lot. He does bring speed in all battles, so don't be afraid to rock this guy in Siege or basically anywhere. Chimera, he's incredibly good with the trials. He's very good in Hydra. He's very good everywhere. He has the increased speed and the 30% turn meter fill. Again, 30% is the best that exists in the game, right? And then he gets an extra turn, and then he can apply to decrease speed. What a master speed manipulator. And I haven't even spoken about Rune of Haste yet. Rune of Haste is passive. Fills his champion turn meter by 5% each time and debuff on an enemy is removed, transfers, or expires. What? What? That means so much turn meter fill because he's dishing out so many bloody debuffs, right? So much turn meter fill that he gets more turns, extra turns, turn meter boosts, all over the place. He's one of the best out there, right? Third one that I have mentioned here, and don't worry, there's a lot more categories. This is going to be a fun video. I'm a little biased, but it's going to be a fun video, damn it.
What are you doing after this?
After the race?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it feels like we're wasting a lot of time.
No, I know. I'm just excited.
Oella. People sleep on Oella as a turn meter booster because she has 110 base speed and she has a 30% turn meter boost. Now, the rest of the ability is a little lacking. Increased resistance, that's it, Oella. But when we're talking about sheer turn meter boosters, there's not that many 30% turn meter boosters on an AoE, right? There's surprisingly like very few of them. Even some of my favorites out there, like maybe Kaja, for example, right? It's 20%, right? Fills a turn meter of all allies by 20%. Getting that 30 is very, very juicy. And don't worry, we're not totally done with the legendaries because we have a few other categories, including the manipulators of the enemies while turn meter boosting yourself. So stay tuned for that. Mythicals. Listen, Star Sage Galathyr only has a 15% turn meter boost. But he needs a mention because he's so freaking good, right? And he has 115 base speed, right? So mention there. But probably the most popular turn meter booster in the game is going to be Arbias, the Stonethorn. She has the turn meter boost by 30%, the increased attack, and the increased accuracy. And she just has an amazing kit outside of that, right? Now, I want to take a quick time out before we go into the epics and the rares here in terms of overall team turn meter boosters and give you guys probably the most important piece of advice that you hear in terms of speed boosters and speed in general in this game, right? Because all the time I get asked, who do I put in my best speed gear? You know, the number one thing that you guys should be doing on your accounts, because there is no answer. The answer is going to be it depends, not just on the champions that you have and not just the blessings, which matter a lot, right? But it's going to all come to where you should start is your banner, right? So what you should do is go to your banner, go to equipped, priority stat is going to be speed, right? And then hide set filters. And then you want to look at your highest speed. Let me move out of the way here. You want to look at your highest speed banner on every single faction that you have. Now, I think this is my highest speed. It is my best. It's my best banner, right? Crixia has it on right now. 42 speed. I got the quad roll on the boosted stat. I only have one of these on my account. Here it is, right? So, you know, I'll pretend that I went through the entire process here, right? But if I have a quad roll, right, and I only have one of them, like I do right now, I should be looking at my, you know, Knight's Revenant in this example, right? That's your first clue. Now look at your Knight's Revenant, look at your turn meter boosters, and look at who you have on your account. And then see if you have anybody with the Awakenings or whatnot. But people, you should start with your banners. What's your fastest banner? And then what's your fastest champions in that faction? It's a good starting point. Okay, I digress. Actually, it was way back in the day, Cruisen said that when I had him on the channel. And I was like, you know what? Why am I not doing that? Like, why am I not? Because I used to just look, okay, I have empowerment here. I have a 6-star blessing on this champion. But start with your banners. Start with your banners. Okay, epics. Best team turn meter boosters on epics. We have a lot to get to here, so I'm going to go a little bit faster here. But, of course, we have Seeker. Seeker holds a place as being the best turn meter booster in the game. in a lot of ways. He's not fast enough to see a ton of arena action like he used to back in the day. He's still very good progression, by the way. I'm just talking end game, right? But he's the only champion in the game, still to this day, including all mythicals in the game, right? That has a turn meter boost of 30% and then an extra turn. Ergo, a 2-turn cooldown, right? Even Nekmothar can't do that. It's a 4-turn with an extra turn down to a 3. 2-turn cooldown. This is why Bat Eater was a thing for so long. This is why you looked at Deadwood Jedi's YouTube channel and his website for years and years, and Seeker was in like almost all the teams because of his ability to boost on a 2-turn cooldown because of his extra turn. So Seeker, he needs to be, front and center when we talk about epic boosters. Now, there's a couple epic boosters that have a 20 or 25% turn meter boost outside of Seeker that I actually really like a lot. One of them is Runekeeper Dazdirk. He has an increased attack and a 25% turn meter fill on a 3-turn cooldown. Very, very good. We want to talk about the fastest epic in the game, too. Golden Reaper, right? Golden Reaper has a 20% turn meter boost and an increased speed with a 111 base speed. So that makes her, in my opinion, probably the best overall turn meter booster out of epics out there in the game in terms of, has that base speed with the increased speed and the turn meter boost. Problem is like you get Arbiter eventually, she doesn't have the increased speed, but I do think the Alacrity ability in Golden Reaper is pretty underrated overall in the game. I think Golden Reaper is a pretty good champion. And then I have Old Hermit Jorg. He's a reviver who also has a really respected Duck the Pierced. What are you doing, bro?
Just chilling.
Also has a really respectable 20% turn meter boost in the increased attack. Increased attack is great. A lot of epics and other champions have a 15% turn meter boost with the increased attack, a la like a Gorgorab, for example, right? So I'm not going to mention all of those, but these are the juicy 20% in my opinion. Golden Reaper, Dazdirk 25, Secret 30, Old Hermit Jorg at 20 as well. Let's talk about some rares, and then we'll go back, and I want to talk about passives. I want to talk about Nukers. I want to talk about double manipulators, and then I want to talk about some honorables and the goats. So let's go fast here. Rares. I've got some interesting ones here. Some that you probably have never heard of. Starting with Anointed. And he is right in front of my face. Where the heck is Anointed? Is he even in this faction?
Wonder if you can guess who I am.
Oh, right in front of my face, indeed. Anointed. All right, so Anointed, the good move is he has a 25% turn meter boost. That's so good for a rare. The bad news is 91 base speed, but, should be aware of the dude at least, right? Apothecary, of course, he is the quintessential turn meter booster with the big version of increased speed and the turn meter fill of 15%. It's almost as good as Alacrity on Golden Reaper, and he has a 106 base speed. Very, very good champion. Odds are most of you are familiar with Apothecary. I want to give a couple other, more obscure shout-outs. Maybe Avir's not very obscure, but the other ones I promise will be at least one of them. Avir the Alchemage, right? He's got a pretty cool kit. He's got a decreased attack on an AoE. He has a heal and a 15% turn meter fill. This is, again, for a rare. It's not a bad ability. Certainly, he wouldn't be my main turn meter booster or anything, but you could use him. This guy, probably nobody has heard of. Maybe a few. It is Blood Painter, right? Blood Painter actually looks pretty cool, I think. And again, a more respectable base speed at 102. Look at this. Fills a turn meter of all allies, except this champion, by 20% with the weak version of increased attack. Again, I wouldn't run out and max out Blood Painter, but good to know about at least. And then the best turn meter booster out of any a rare in the game. And frankly, it's not even close. It's Seeker's little brother, and this is Doomscreech. Doomscreech has an insane ability here in Warning Screech. Turn meter fill by 30% on all allies, and the big version of decreased defense. He's the only only he and Marked even have the big version of decreased defense, and he has it with a 30% turn meter fill. Now, the rest of his kit's not that good. Shelter's not that great of an ability. His A1 is meh, but man, if you need a turn meter booster, he's by far and away, and the increased defense on a 3-turn cooldown, he's by far and away the best rare turn meter booster. All right, let's talk about some passives, and then we'll talk about the other categories that I mentioned, right? There's actually a lot of just crazy insanely good passives for turn meter boosting. Let's start with Rowdy Crowd of Molly Tankard. Molly's a good reviver and a provoker. A lot of people, including myself, at one point at least, use her as a staple of their Hydra teams. When you can tick like a few boxes with one champion, right? It's really nice to have a provoke and a reviver, especially on quick battles in auto and Hydra. But this Rowdy Crowd is so good. Fills a turn meter of all allies by 15% when she's hit, 25% when she's hit by a boss. That's on a one-turn cooldown, so only happens once when booked between her turns. But still, that's a hell of a lot of turn meter to get through the duration of a battle, right? Molly is very, very good with that passive. There's another very good reviver turn meter fill passive. Anybody know? It's actually an orc. That's right, the worst faction in the game. It's Raka Viletide is the exception to the worst faction. There's a few of them, right? Tagore, Warlord, a few others. But check this out. 109 base speed. You love to see that, especially on a reviver. At the start of each turn, fills a turn meter of all allies by 10%. That's on a 2-turn cooldown. So her turn meter fill actually comes off of her passive. She also brings speed in all battles by 19% on the aura. She has a nice cleanse, increase attack. She has a shield. She has block debuffs that will place even if she doesn't revive on her A3 as well. I've always been a big fan of Raka Viletide. But man, the passives, we're just starting with the passives. A mythical Androck, right? Androck, man, he's not a great mythical champion, but he does have one thing going that keeps him on one of the top 3 Chimera teams in the world, and that is a ton of turn meter fill. Turn meter fill is very good for Chimera Clan Boss because, you know, I haven't met anybody out there that hits the turn limit yet on Chimera Clan Boss, right? I run an Androck team with Senna, who we'll talk about in a minute, and the closest I've come is 1,200 turns out of 1,500. So it's very hard. So, ergo, we don't have to worry about the turn cap. We want a lot of boosters, ideally, on our team. Critical hits inflicted by allies fills the turn meter of all allies by 5%, occurs once per skill. No cooldown or anything. That's a lot of turn meter fill in aggregate over time, right? Very, very good ability there. All right. How about Sulfurion? Ooh, he's sneaky. One of the best turn meter boosters out there in the game. What are you talking about, Ash? He's a reviver and a burner. What do you mean? Well, he's a burn activator, which is very good against Stone Skin in the arena, very good everywhere almost, right? Outside the arena, burn is so useful in so many different areas. He's got the revive with the extra turn, great for quick battles, at least in my case, for Hydra Clan Boss. Great for Spider, great for, I could keep going on and on. But his Pyroclastic Boon, his passive, fills a turn meter of all allies by 5% for each HP burn debuff placed in battle, right? Now, he can also increase his own speed by 7 for each active burn debuff out there. So if you build him fast, which isn't that hard to do, he's at 109 base speed, he can be your turn meter booster and kill Stone Skin. That's why you see this guy quite a bit in the arena nowadays, right? You didn't see a lot of him back in the day. Now you see quite a bit of it. Let's talk about an epic for a change here. Let's talk about Achak the Wenderin. Man, oh man, I love Achak the Wenderin. This guy's really cool, especially on Spider. You pair him with a guy like a Mordecai or any burner for that matter. He heals all allies by 5% of max HP every time a burn gets a turn, or enemy with a burn, and then fills a turn meter of all allies by 10% every time an enemy under a freeze debuff gets a turn. No cooldown, just straight up. Man, that's a really nasty passive that Achak the Wenderin, a demon spawn force affinity epic, has. The rest of his kit's pretty good. Block debuff, strengthen, and an AoE freeze that he brings in his kit, right? Or a burn. It's kind of a if-then, depending on his defense versus theirs or whatnot. But either way, guys, I mean, Achak, that's a busted little passive. And then probably two of the more popular options for Chimera Clan Boss in terms of passives are going to be Senna, Amberheart. Whenever a continuous heal buff activates on any ally, fills a turn meter of all allies by 5%. That's nasty. She's super fast, 113 base speed. She's got the 19 speed in all battles aura. She's got the increased speed and the turn meter fill of 20%. And the revive. Man, she's like the queen of turn meter, speed, and revive. Very, very good. And then the last one that I have for passives, by the way, I don't think this is like 100% exhaustive list. I took like a half an hour and put these champions together before the video, but I could be forgetting some champions out there. And if I forget your favorite champion, go ahead and let me know about it in the comments below. Operative Clanfather, his passive too. Every time a continuous heals an ally, fills that ally's turn meter by 10%. The difference is between Operative and Senna. Senna's 5%, Operative's 10%. But every time a continuous heal ticks on anybody, fills everybody's turn meter by 5% on Senna. On Operative, it's only that ally getting healed by the continuous heal. But it's still a very, very nice ability. They did a great job buffing this guy. A lot of heals, and they added a lot to his kit, including a little cleanse there as well. So, and the block debuffs. I think they added that to his kit as well. So, really solid option there. Let's talk about some Nukers. Some Nukers who can be turn meter boosters for your team as well. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend building these champions to be the fastest on your team, but you can try a bit of an unorthodox strategy where you have maybe an Arbiter or somebody like that boosting into a He-Man, for example. He's going to have the turn meter boost, and he's going to have the increased attack. He-Man has a really nasty ability. He can even bust through Stone Skin. If the attack kills an enemy, and you're setting him up for success with the increased attack, fills a turn meter of all allies by 30%. Wow! You can use him as a speed or a lead in the arena as well. Speed is a huge part of He-Man's kit, and it makes him very, very good. Let me give you one more legendary. Let me give you an epic turn meter booster as well. Legendary is going to be kind of an old school one, but she is, and she's not a Skinwalker, she's a Dark Alphash. Where is my girl Astrolith? In front of my face. There she is. All right, so she has speed in arena battles by 28%. Her A1, Assault Leader. By the way, her claim to fame is a bomb. Two one-turn bombs that can't be resisted. She's a nice combo play with a debuff spreader like a Vizier, for example. But on her A1, Assault Leader attacks one enemy. If the attack is critical, it fills all allies' turn meter by 15%. That's really juicy, right? I guess honorable mention, we talk about A1s. She's definitely not a nuker, but Raglan has kind of the same thing going on. 15% turn meter fill, 3 random allies, right? And you can't have it turned or boosted twice, so if it's like an arena battle, it's going to be her 3, allies. All 3 of them are going to get the 15% turn meter boost. All right, but the other one is actually a Shadowkin. It's Sashi. Sashi, I maxed her very recently. I haven't even done a video on her yet, but she has Shadow Ambush. Increase attack on all allies, then attacks one enemy, and then fills a turn meter of all allies by 20% if the attack is critical. She's a cool nuker. She's a reviver. Revives a random ally 30% HP if this champion kills an enemy, right? Fear on all enemies whenever an ally is revived. That's really cool too. I really like Sashi and AoE on her A1 as well. Very interesting champion. I love that bodysuit too. Looking good, Sashi. All right, so those are some nuker options for you guys in terms of really solid turn meter boosters from a nuker, right? It allows you to do some cool things with these champions. All right, let's talk about the double manipulators. Actually, before we do, 2 honorable mentions to really unique 30% turn meter boosters that I couldn't think of where to rank these champions, right? They're like really tough. And one of them, neither of them are Knights Revenant. One is actually going to be Lanicus the Chosen. She has a base speed of 108. And on the ally attack, she fills turn meter by 30% and increase the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn. So an ally attack with a juicy 30% turn meter fill from a fast ally attacker. Lanicus gets slept on a little bit too much, I think. She's not the best ally attacker in the game, certainly anymore, but that's a really nice and unique ally attack ability. There's so many ally attackers, by the way, that have some sort of turn meter boost or whatnot. Queen of Hearts has one, so again, or turn meter fill for each buff removed. That's only herself, though. I thought she had turn meter fill somewhere near. Oh, turn meter fill of all allies by 5% on her A1 as well, right? So anyway, I digress. All I'm trying to say is there's a lot of interesting turn meter manipulators like Los and Kaleth that, equalize the turn meter of all allies. Turn meter will be brought up to the highest ally. So like some of these ones, man, I don't have him, but man, he has one of the weirdest. You've seen those heal moves, right? Like a Sinesha heal. but he has it with turn meter, both on allies and with enemies. Any of you guys have this, dude? He seems like, I guess theoretically he could give the best turn meter increase in the game, right? When you put it all together. I didn't know where the heck to rank that dude, right? And then Kymar. That's the last kind of weird category. He has a 20% turn meter fill, but with that whole cooldown, resets the cooldown, right? Pretty cool ability given that he has a speed and arena battles aura as well at 30%. Okay, let's talk about the double manipulation, right? These are some of the best turn meter boosters in the game because they also reduce the turn meter of the enemies. This is the part of the video where the champions you've probably been screaming at the screen, why hasn't he mentioned Lazarius? They're all going to come right now. Lazarius has, the only thing I will say about all these champions is you got to be careful about Marius. Marius keeps this category of very powerful champion in check because if you decrease his turn meter, he's going to AoE on his A1. He could kill you or he could enfeeble you, right? Anyway, the Rift's Gaze fills the turn meter of all allies by 20% and decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 20%. That's very powerful for obvious reasons. He has an increased attack and a strengthen as well, and he does everything else in the world. I'm not going to review his entire kit. So he's the best mythical for the double manipulation. But the best, well, we talked about Estrid earlier, right? I gave her a shout out somewhere. I forgot what I was talking about. The 115 Club. Man, this is a video I thought was going to be like 10 minutes long.
I never heard of that one.
I apologize, guys. But there's a lot to talk about here, right? Hopefully you're enjoying it. I'm enjoying it, damn it. She is a really unique and cool example. She's so fast. She's got the speed aura. We talked about all that. But the turn meter fill with the extra turn ostensibly and the turn meter decrease, she's kind of doing it too. It takes her 2 turns, but she gets the free turn from her A3 Blessed Dream song. So very powerful there as well. We also talked about Shu Zhen. Now, Shu Zhen has not just the instant turn, which we mentioned earlier, but the Charge of the Valorous. A 20% turn meter fill, increased speed on all allies, 100% chance of decreasing turn meter on all enemies by 20%, and then a decreased speed on all enemies. Woo! That's a nasty. She's got such a nasty kit, man. Wow, she's strong. But then we have, well, there's 2 more I want to talk about for legendaries, right? One never gets any love, and I really like her. It's Morrigan. She has a 112 base speed, and she has a decreased enemy turn meter by 20%, fill the turn meter of all allies by 20%, and an increased speed on all allies, right? So 4 turn cooldown. She's not as good as Shu Zhen. She's quite different in the rest of her kit. But I like Morrigan. She's a really good, she looks so cool, man. I think she's a very cool champion. She has speed in all battles by 19% on the aura as well. I kind of only use her against Amos because she has a heal reduction that can't be removed. So, like, anytime I can use Morrigan against Amos, I'm like, yeah, put her in, coach. She's very, very good there. But she can be an annoying little champion in a lot of different areas, even in the arena, although she's certainly not meta. Okay, the most obvious one is going to be Lysandra, the queen of speed. You know, if I was making this video back 5 years ago, I'd be putting Lysandra on it, and she's still there. Energized. Increased speed, 30% turn meter fill, 30% turn meter decrease. She's got it all. I mean, she's only missing the decreased speed, but she has 30 and 30. She's the only champion to have that. The 30-30, the 30 fill and the 30 decrease. She's still very good, and she has a 110 base speed and speed in all battles by 24%. It's really good. All right, let's go with some epics. There's actually 2 epics that I wanted to call out. Now, there's a lot of good epic turn meter boosters in the game. We'd be here all day if I talked about the crowd in the blue, right? He has basically the apothecary ability built into his kit. Even Ruella here, I noticed, right? 20% turn meter fill, right? There's a lot of good turn meter boosters. I guess I should give Ruella some love. That's a really nice ability on 3 turn cooldown to give that 20% turn meter boost. But there's a couple that have the both-way manipulation. And the most famous is obviously Deacon Armstrong. I would say the most famous, maybe the second champion hasn't beat, I don't know. But time compression. Not only is it a 15% turn meter boost, 15% turn meter decrease for the enemies, but he gets an extra turn. This is the magic that makes Deacon one of the best epics in the game, that allows you to keep the uptime of decreased defense on enemies almost all the time because he's getting back to it faster vis-a-vis that extra turn, right? He brings a leech on his A1 and his speed in all battles by 19% as well. But there's one that everybody has, because everybody gets her really early in after 30 days, and it's High Katoon. Now, High Katoon, I'm kind of cheating a little bit here because she has it on 2 different abilities. But she has an AoE decreased turn meter and a turn meter fill and an increased speed. And the speed in all battles by 19%. She's really the first champion that people get their hands on, most players, that really has that robust turn meter centric kit, right? All about control. And I love control in this game. So High Katoon's a great example, right? She has it on different abilities, right? Rares. There is one rare that's campaign farmable that has this ability. It's the little miniature version of Lysandra, right? I stress the little in the miniature. But Diabolus is campaign farmable in the final stage of campaign. Anybody can get her. If you farm enough, you'll get your hands on Diabolus. And she has 2 things going for her. She has a few things, but 110 base speed makes her one of the fastest rares in the game, okay? And then she has Electric Storm, plays a decreased speed on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown. Excuse me, did I say decrease? Increased speed on all allies. Campaign farmables are bad, but they're not that bad. She's amazing. She puts decreased speed on everybody. 3-turn cooldown, increased speed. But then on her positive charge, it's a mini time compression. She has a 15% turn meter fill and a 15% turn meter decrease, right, on her A3. So she's a very accessible champion that brings a lot of manipulation and increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown, big version to the table, and everybody can get her. And look at that whopping 10% chance of sleeping on the A1 as well. All right, guys, it's time to give it to the GOATs. Who do I think are the 5 best turn meter boosters in the game? Well, after what I said, gushing about Lysandra, I'm actually going to give it to one of the, in no particular order, I'm going to give it to Lysandra. Listen, Lysandra's not the sexiest pick. She's the oldest champion on this list. Well, one of the oldest champions on this list. But I don't want this top 5 just to reflect endgame top whatever 1,000 live arena, right? She has, like I said, arguably the best, if not the second best manipulation ability in the game. 30% turn meter fill with the decrease and the increased speed. I don't think she's better than Arbiter, but her turn meter boost is better than Arbiter. She lacks the increased attack, but she has the increased speed and the turn meter decrease for the enemies, and a great exhaustion, full deplete turn meter on her A2, right? That's really strong. We can make a whole follow-up video on turn meter depleters as well. There's a lot of them out there, right? But I'm going to put Lysandra on the list. It's just the best. It's the best in class, right? Top 5, for the same reason, I'm also putting number 2, again, no particular order, as Seeker. I can't take it away from him. Sure, Bat Eater meta is not a thing that much anymore. But he still has the best ability, you know, with the 2-turn cooldown. So I'm still going to give it to Seeker. Now we're going to get a little bit more meta here. I'm going to give the next one, number 3, is actually going to go to Nekmothar, right? You don't see Nekmothar in the arena, but man, the increased speed with the 30% and the decreased speed and the Rune of Haste to make him move faster with the speed aura, I think he makes the list. I think he's probably the best PvE speed booster in the game. That's my opinion. Okay, and the 2 will be like the most meta PvP champions, and that's going to be Shuzen. Again, with the instant turn, the super, like, she's tanky too, by the way. Super fast, instant turn ability, and then the charge of the Valorous. You can argue this is better than the Energize of Lysandra, right? Because she brings the decreased speed as well. Now, instantly, this might yield better speed over time with the decreased speed, but instantaneously you'll get the best results from Lysandra. So it depends. But when you add the juicy speed arena aura with the instant turn, Shuzen, I would say she's probably 1A, 1B with our bias. That's my number one. Our bias is so good. I mean, again, 30% turn meter with the increased attack a la Arbiter, but increased accuracy is so important in this game because it's tough to build champions nowadays with as much speed and accuracy and crit rate and everything that you need, especially when we talk about the arena. So I'll give it to our bias as well as a top 5. The only downside to our bias is she does fall off a little bit in the PvE environments because you're not able to get back to this as soon as some of the other champions, given it's a 4-turn cooldown. The rest of her kit's so broken it almost doesn't matter, but it's worth noting. So there it is, guys. Those are all my favorite speed boosters in the game. Who did I snub? I feel like I'm snubbing somebody. I didn't talk much about Sify. She's one of the best champions in the game, but at 10%, it just doesn't add her to this conversation, at least as a center point of the conversation. But guys, let me know, out of all those champions, who's your favorite? I tried to mention a lot of them. Let me know if you want to see a follow-up talking about the decreased turn meter champions as well. Hey, thanks for watching till the end of the video. I love chilling with you guys every day, talking some RSL. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.